Good morning and welcome to the EZFX Trading Room broadcast for Monday, November 7th, 2016. My name is Bradley Freed, and for the next 20 to 30 minutes, you'll be joining me for a review of our trades that we last talked about last Thursday. We're going to go into the election, how this will affect trading and what my plan is for trading the election. And we're also going to get into some trades that we closed today, and just some talking about risk a little bit, which I think is really important when we have major events that can impact financial markets in big ways. So to get started, the first thing I want to talk about is the pound dollar. I closed this. I just sent a signal out, so you should have received that. The reason I'm closing is, for one, it's before the election. Number two is because this reversal, I think, was entirely based on last week's panic by financial markets that Trump might win the election. I think those chances have receded a bit, especially with the conclusion of the FBI investigation, the letter from Comey that indicated that there were no new conclusions based on their examination of the emails that they found on Anthony Weiner's laptop. And I think you've seen that recede today. You had a gap down on the Sunday open, and this is easier to see on the 1 hour chart, incidentally. And my favorite direction in a Clinton win is going to be to sell this pair, simply because if it rises, that means that we're in the same boat as Brexit. If it drops, that's an indication of a strong dollar versus a weakening pound. So I definitely want to consider a sell trade. I want to consider that, though, on Wednesday, the day after the election, because the volatility between now and then is going to be too high. And even if we get the direction right, we might be stopped out in volatility and take a needless loss. So let's think longer term about how this is going to shift. We may have an announcement of a raise in interest rates, which would also increase the value of the dollar, make it stronger against the pound in the coming months. And anticipation of that will drive this pair lower, in my opinion. So for now, we're out of the pound dollar. That's going to go on the close list. And we took a reasonable profit on that. It didn't go very far. We took about 94 pips on that. And the next one we closed is the euro dollar. Same thing. Yeah, we saw, if we look at the 4 hour on the chart, it's pretty clear. We had this run up last week when the polling data was showing that Clinton was losing her lead. It was getting eaten into by Trump. Then we see the new announcement on the weekend, and then the market gaps down. This is all being driven, in my opinion, the catalyst being the U.S. election. So we want to listen to these signals. And in fact, we did have an opposite Class A on the 1 hour chart and the 4 hour chart. And we also had a sell bubble. So, and triangular moving average color change. These are all signals of a potential reversal. It's a good time to close the trade and get out. And that means that we took a maximum profit on the second part of this trade. Remember, we closed the first part, took profit, moved the stop to break even. But we also took profit on the second part of approximately 125 pips. So this also goes in the win column for the week. Didn't get to the final profit target, but any profit is good, especially in a market as volatile as this and around an event. There's so much event risk around an election, especially this election, that I feel pretty good about just going ahead and on Monday banking this, seeing what happens tomorrow, watching the charts, not trading, and then looking on Wednesday after opportunities start to appear. All right, next let's look at the pound Aussie and pound Newsy buy. We were watching both of these really, the pound Aussie, it took off a little bit, but it's also done what the other pound pairs did. It's gapped down on the open and dropping. So I would suggest taking a loss cut on this pair. If you got in around here to this trade, it proceeded a little bit and then it dropped. If you get out now, you're taking a loss of about 35 pips on it. That's not too bad. So I'm going to say let's just loss cut this. This was not a signal trade, by the way. Pound Newsy buy, that's the other one we were looking at. This was actually a new trade. Remember, we were waiting for a break and close above the trend line and a color change in the triangle moving average. That didn't happen. In fact, it dropped again. There's really no new setup here. I don't see anything clear telling me to trade this. It's really conflicted. It has no clear direction. I'll look for this to assert some direction after the election, and we'll see what happens. But for right now, I'm going to cancel this idea, and we just we'll wait and see. Get a new signal or setup later in the week. And we were also watching these three trades: the Newsy Yen, Euro Pound, Newsy CAD. Let's take a look at each of those real quickly. For the Newsy Yen, this gapped up. Remember, we were looking for a sell. We're not going to get a sell. In fact, it just keeps rising. So no clear setup at this point. Again, I'm not trading between now and the time we get the election result. But on the 4-hour chart, at least, we have a couple of big supply zones up here. Any one of those could be a potential point of reversal for this pair. If we look at the daily chart, we see we're kind of getting at the top of the range where reversals have happened. And this gap up could be short-lived. But again, volatility around the election can drive this higher. So I just want to be extra careful that we trade around that event and don't trade into volatility. So I'm still watching that. Euro Pound sell. This was another one we had our eye on. And a sell trade did set up. We broke this trend line. If you were in this, though, you face the same risk as we faced with the pound dollar. So if you have a little bit of profit on the table and before the election is complete, I would suggest taking profit on this trade, closing it out, banking whatever little bit you were able to take, and just wait to see what happens after the election. I don't think it's worth staying in anything. Now, even if something happened and this dropped and hit the profit target and we made, we would have made a huge number of pips. We could also lose. It could just, on volatility, jump up and slam into this stop in a second. So it's, in my opinion, it's not worth it, but it's up to you. Finally, Newsy CAD sell. That's the last one we were looking at. If I can find it. My list is a little bit long here. Newsy CAD, let's just make a new chart. The Newsy CAD. There it is. Okay. So we still have a sell trade setting up on this. We have a sell bubble, a Class A supply zone. The triangular moving average has not changed color yet. We can draw a trend line under price. See what happens. Again, I would not want to trade this until we know the results of the election. But this may set up a nice sell trade for us. Or it may not. It may not be ready yet. But we definitely want to keep watching this. This actually looks like it's pretty interesting and could yield a good trade. So we'll keep this on the watch list for now. But other than that, I don't have anything. There's nothing I'm in at present. We've closed out all our trades. And with that, we're going to see what happens with the election. I will be back tomorrow with another edition of the Trading Room. We'll be watching the market and seeing how the election is affecting it as voting starts on election day. And really in the United States, I mean, for those of you who live outside the United States, you may not know, but we have a lot of early voting in a lot of states. So for example, by tomorrow, 70% of Florida may have already voted, for example. There are some states like, I think Pennsylvania, they don't have early voting, so everything is going to happen on election day. And those states are going to be more interesting, but we'll know pretty early in some states what the result is, simply because the voting count has already started and they're going to have results posted very soon. So this may be over fast, or it may come down to the wire. I don't know. And it depends also on if the polling has been accurate in predicting the outcome. But either way, it's going to be interesting. And it's a good chance to look at what a major event like this, the impact it has on currencies and how they respond, and start to think a little bit deeper about the relationship between various currencies and the direction they move versus the political direction of an individual country like the United States. So it should be fun to watch that and have those deep thoughts, look at charts, maybe take a position, make some predictions yourself, and see if those pan out. And if they do, then maybe you've found a relationship or catalyst that you can use longer term to set up charts or have a bias for the near future, for the next 3 to 6 months, or maybe a year. But if you're wrong, you can also say, well, what did I miss? And then maybe you'll find what you missed, that missing piece, and that'll help make your own prediction a little bit more accurate in the future. All right, we'll be back tomorrow for another edition of the Trading Room. I'm just going to check and see if there are any questions in our chat room right now. And at present, we don't have any questions, so I'm going to close here. I'll be back tomorrow. We'll see you then. Take care. Bye-bye.